Good morning and welcome to the Liverpool Transfer Daily morning bulletin with Blood Red. My name's Andrew Beasley. I'm joined by my colleague from Liverpool.com, Dave Comerford, and we're going to talk a little bit about the various headlines that are doing the rounds today. Inevitably, there's transfers while it's January. I mean, there's always transfers, but especially this month. Reports are that Liverpool are still interested in signing Moises Caicedo from Brighton. According to Sky Sports, the Reds are one of three Premier League clubs who have not given up hope of completing his capture before the January transfer window closes. Jurgen Klopp has been pretty sort of cagey, doesn't sort of sound like, or he's not giving the impression that anything's going to happen. But do you think there's any chance of this one happening, Dave? This month, I mean?
Well, midfield, generally, I think, yes, because if you're Liverpool, you're ninth in the Premier League. Everybody knows that midfield's your weakness. If you're then saying publicly on top of that, yeah, we need a midfielder, we really want to sign a midfielder, then how weak is your negotiating position going to be? Because the greater your need, then I suppose the more likely you are to be kind of extorted by a selling club. So part of me wonders if it is kind of a negotiation strategy, because I don't think Liverpool are stupid enough to almost think that there isn't a problem there. And as much as they do want to save money for someone like Bellingham, I think there has to be a realization at some point that you have to spend to get the Champions League, and then you're kind of going to save money long term by spending money now. And I do think the club are aware of that personally. So I think there's a lot of public posturing going on, and I do reckon that there is stuff going on behind the scenes. And if they can find a reasonably priced deal, if they can find a deal I think is a bargain, that they might do it still. And that just might be me being blindly optimistic, because, we are hearing really consistent messages from Klopp that nothing will happen, but I just don't really see the benefit of him doing anything else. In terms of Caicedo, though, I think that Sky Sports report mentioned that Brighton wants somewhere around 70 million for him. Whether that one happens, if there is a deal, I'm not sure, because as much as he is a brilliant player, and we saw that again, unfortunately, I suppose, last weekend.
Yep.
He's only played, I think, less than 25 Premier League matches. And we were talking about this, me and Ben, on one of the streams last week, and how whilst he does have an increasingly long list of really good performances against big teams within those 25, that is still a very small amount of games to have played at kind of the very top level. And you can see why, as much as the clamour for a midfield signing can sometimes make you lose sight of kind of concerns around the player, because you just want someone in. You can see why the club might be hesitant to pay that amount of money for someone who does at this stage have so little experience.
Yeah, and I think you see a similar sort of thing, not quite to the same extent, with someone like Enzo Fernandez. Obviously, he's still very young. Obviously, World Cup winner now, but paying over 100 million for him, and he has sort of relatively limited experience. I think with Caicedo as well. Obviously, from Liverpool's perspective, it doesn't help that they would be dealing with Brighton, who are clearly one of the sort of smartest clubs around, or at least that's how it seems.
Yeah, definitely. They've obviously got a track record when it comes to really standing firm. I think you saw that last summer with Cucurella. The amount of money they got for him, it's definitely looked like they kind of won that deal, if you like, as the season's gone on. So, yeah, they're not going to be an easy negotiating partner, I think. And I think probably in the past Liverpool have liked some of their players, but thought that the price tags were going to be prohibitive, because, Brighton, they have their business model of sort of buying low and selling high, and they're going to stick to that, and they're going to make sure that they extract the maximum amount possible. And for them, they'd be sort of licking their lips at what they're seeing happen with Liverpool and Chelsea, I think, in terms of their struggles this season and what that could mean for them in terms of funds. And yeah, I think the Fernandez point you make is quite interesting too, because even relative to Caicedo, because, like you say, he's only got half a season in Europe behind him when he came from River Plate last summer. Been very good in the half season. I think he's won a couple of sorts of awards in terms of best midfielder, best player, things like that. But it is a small amount of time. I think that's why the World Cup was so important for him to win the Young Player Award. And again, it is only a handful of games still, but what that does in terms of being seen to prove yourself is quite a lot. Whereas somebody like Caicedo, I thought he was decent at the World Cup still, but he's only had the chance to play sort of like 3 games, one of them against one of the top sides in the Netherlands. I mean, Senegal, an okay team, but like maybe not the force that they were expected to be. So again, you haven't really had the evidence on that stage, maybe that you need. So it's one of them. I think in an ideal world, Liverpool would want to wait until at the very least this summer to sign Caicedo. Whether they get the opportunity to do that, whether things align in the market, I don't know. And it's obviously possible that Chelsea, for example, snap him up this month anyway.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously Chelsea are buying pretty much everybody going, and they're certainly unafraid to splash the cash in the way that Liverpool seem to be. So, yeah, I mean, if I were Brighton, I'd be sort of hoping for a bid from Chelsea, probably. But whether anyone comes in remains to be seen. Obviously, one way of solving the midfield problems at Liverpool may be to sort of promote from within, as it were. Now, obviously, we saw Stefan Bajcetic, if that's how you say it, at Wolves play very well the other night. He's obviously looking like a very encouraging player, excellent prospect for the future. Still very young, of course, but he has played well when given the chance. A lot of people will be hoping that he stays in the team and plays against Chelsea on Saturday lunchtime, take the place of Fabinho. I'm not sure Klopp will do that for such a big game, but how do you see it going?
I don't think he will, and I don't think he should. Bajcetic was brilliant the other night. I thought, especially in the second half of the game, he really grew into it. If I remember right from what they said in commentary, it is only his third Liverpool start. He's still 18 years old. I just don't think he's ready still. And there's absolutely no shame in that. I don't think he should be ready after playing kind of so little football. And there have been positive glimpses, but, there's a step up from playing in good competitions against maybe lower tier sides from coming on late on in Premier League games where Liverpool already leading, and even playing against that Wolves team, which would have a lot of changes. There's, as much as Chelsea are struggling this season, that is a big step up in not only quality but kind of intensity too. And this obviously a player who pulled up with cramp the other night as well, which might be kind of a marker of the physical development he's still got left to go. So yeah, I just think it's probably a bridge too far at this point, and I think, I understand where it's coming from in the sense that Fabinho has been poor this season and Bajcetic has looked really bright, but there is still a gulf in class between those two players at this point, if we're being honest. I probably wouldn't be looking to be starting him in Premier League games until next season, unless for whatever reason, a big sort of opportunity emerges for him between now and then. But yeah, I don't think that's any sort of criticism of Bajcetic to say that. I think it's a perfectly normal timeline. Whereas now, if you're putting them into the team, that you're rushing things too much, and the point's been made too that if it was to go badly, if it goes badly for a young player in a big game, at such a formative stage of development, then that can actually set them back quite a bit. Certainly confidence. So you've got to be careful in more ways than one, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right on everything there, really. As I said at the start, I don't think Klopp would put a young player in when he's got other options for such a big game. I mean, we saw last season Tyler Morton started the game at Tottenham, but I think that was more because of how many players were out with injuries and COVID at that time than because of any sort of particular, need to have Tyler Morton in the team for that game. So, I mean, he will do it if he needs to. But I don't think this feels like a game where he needs to. So assuming that Fabinho comes back in, I mean, who are you having with him? Thiago and Keita both played very well on Tuesday night as well. I mean, are they the obvious choices?
Yeah, myself and David Lynch were on the stream yesterday morning. I asked him the same question about Keita and Henderson, and so I suppose it's good to have the chance to kind of express my view on it. I think really Klopp said before the game that he wasn't too loyal, and now if he goes and plays Henderson in spite of Henderson's underperformance and in spite of Keita looking quite good when he's come on and really good when he played the other night, And that kind of shows that maybe isn't the case. And I know that people might be reticent to use a player who is probably leaving at the end of the season, but he's still been playing better than Jordan Henderson recently. That's just a fact. Aided, I think, by, coming on in certain games where Liverpool maybe trailing and the opposition sit back, and it's easier to, he's got more space to roam and things like that. So that is a factor. But I think generally as well, since he's kind of come back into the fold, he has looked, look like kind of he should be that third midfielder alongside Fabinho and Thiago, and that trio is almost Liverpool's last hope of extracting something, I think, from the squad that they have. They've used Henderson there, they've used Elliott there, and they've used a few other players kind of at various intervals in terms of what you'd look at and say could be our strongest workable midfield. I think that Fabinho, Keita, Thiago one is the kind of the last one you'd look at, and it was used, I think, a few times last season with mixed results. I remember, I think the first half of Villarreal, for example, it went quite badly, but there was also maybe the game against Man City at Wembley. I think we might have saw it there, and it was brilliant in that one. So it could go either way, I suppose. But I would definitely be putting Keita into the team over Henderson on Saturday.
Yeah, I wrote an article for the Echo yesterday. I don't think it's been published yet, but the gist was basically, while they've not been perfect when Thiago and Keita have both started, Liverpool win every time. It hasn't been that many games, inevitably, because both have had their injury troubles, but the results have been positive whenever they've played. But we'll have to see what happens there. Maybe Moises Caicedo will be playing defensive midfield for Liverpool on Saturday, but probably not in reality. But we'll certainly have plenty to write about if that's the case. So we'll be back tomorrow with another morning roundup of the latest news. So please join us then.